She's here through her children, and that's what's most important.
Hundreds gathered today to celebrate the life and spirit of Renita Williams after she was gunned down in the Caddo Heights neighborhood over a week ago and killed on Facebook Live. Family and friends of Renita, also known as Nunu, describe her as a vibrant woman who was unconditionally loving. As KSLA News 12's Christian Picos reports, Renita's spirit is being carried on by those she touched.
Appeared this morning in Caddo District Court. NBC6's Zyneria Bird was there and joins us live from Studio Control to tell us more. Zy?
Alex, Jonathan Robinson will have to wait another week to enter a plea for the April murder of Renita Williams. Today, his judge, Ramona Emanuel, continued his arraignment until next week. Both Robinson and Williams' family were in court today, believing he was going to be arraigned, and they had plenty to say.
So my baby, I lost her. Everybody going home to their baby except me.
The mother of Renita Williams is in distraught after her daughter's accused killer appeared in court for the first time.
It just ain't gonna bring her back. All that other stuff, all they wasted for, they still got their kids. They still with their family and everything. I don't have my baby, my only baby. You think I'm worried about insanity or what people got going on? No.
Renita Williams' murder received national attention after it was streamed live on Facebook.
Her body was too little for those bullets. He didn't have to shoot. He didn't have to.
Robinson tried to speak out in the courtroom Monday morning, but was quickly quieted by the judge who told him he should speak through his lawyer. But that didn't stop his family, who did their own speaking.
Open up the doors. Let him say what he want to say. He regret everything he did.
Robinson's family feel he's ready to pay for the crime.
He's done with the situation. He want to pay this debt to society.
The family of his alleged victim wants the same.
Yes, he needs to be in jail. He don't need to get out. His family needs to suffer just like our family is doing, because that wasn't right.
In April 2018, 27-year-old Renita Nunu Williams, a resident of Shreveport, Louisiana, was fatally shot inside her own home during a live Facebook Live video stream. The woman, a mother of three, was confronted by her former partner, Jonathan Tremaine Robinson, 36, who forced her to broadcast an apology on social media moments before gunshots rang out.
Hey y'all, this Nunu. I apologize for going live on Rika. I ain't had no business doing all that. My page been blocked.
The live stream, viewed by unknown numbers of online viewers, showed Robinson pacing, issuing threats, and demanding compliance while armed with a rifle. Police responded to report the shots fired in a standoff that lasted approximately 80 minutes. During that encounter, Robinson fired upon responding officers, injuring at least one and exchanging gunfire with law enforcement. Robinson was later arrested, charged, and ultimately pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and multiple related charges. The case drew national attention for the role of social media in documenting an active crime scene and raised questions about domestic violence, digital platforms, and real-time violence. Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Renita Williams, commonly known by the nickname Nunu, was 27 years old at the time of her death. She lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, where she spent most of her adult life. Williams was a mother of three children and was primarily responsible for their day-to-day care. Her role as a parent was central to her daily routine, influencing her work schedule, social interactions, and online activity. Among friends and family, Williams was described as outspoken and socially active. She maintained a visible presence both offline and online, frequently engaging with people in her community. She was known for sharing opinions publicly, addressing conflicts directly, and documenting aspects of her life through social media. This openness contributed to her recognition within local social circles, but also exposed personal disputes to a wider audience. Williams was an active user of Facebook Live, a feature that allows real-time video broadcasting. She used the platform to speak directly to viewers, address rumors, resolve arguments, and communicate her perspective during disagreements. These live streams often involve discussions about personal relationships, conflicts, or misunderstandings. Her frequent use of live video created a public record of private disputes and made her interpersonal conflicts accessible to anyone watching. In addition to her online activity, Williams was involved in informal business ventures, including interior decorating and personal services. She used Facebook to promote her work, connect with potential clients, and maintain visibility within the community. Her online presence blended personal, professional, and social elements, often without clear separation between them. Williams' relationship history included multiple romantic partners over time. Some of these relationships became sources of tension, particularly when disputes spilled onto social media. Arguments, accusations, and confrontations were sometimes conducted publicly through posts or live streams, drawing commentary from viewers and mutual acquaintances. These interactions contributed to ongoing interpersonal friction. In the period leading up to April 2018, Williams was involved in conflicts linked to romantic relationships, including disputes involving current and former partners. Some of these disputes were visible online, where disagreements escalated through comments, posts, and live broadcasts. These public exchanges created an environment in which personal grievances were amplified rather than resolved privately. Jonathan Tremaine Robinson and Ranita Williams had a prior romantic relationship that was characterized by instability. Their involvement included periods of closeness followed by separation, with repeated attempts to reconcile. Over time, the relationship deteriorated, and Williams eventually moved on to other romantic interests. Following the end of their relationship, conflict between Williams and Robinson continued. Robinson reportedly struggled with the separation and reacted negatively to Williams' involvement with other men. Disagreements between them did not remain private and instead surfaced through direct confrontations and online exchanges. There were periods during which Robinson attempted to reinsert himself into Williams' life, despite the relationship having ended. These attempts were not always welcomed and often resulted in arguments. The interaction suggested unresolved issues and an inability to accept the finality of the breakup. Robinson's reactions to Williams moving on included verbal confrontations and repeated communication. These interactions reflected possessive and controlling tendencies, particularly when Robinson perceived a loss of influence over Williams' personal life. Some of these behaviors were observable through online activity, where Robinson made comments or references tied to ongoing disputes. Prior to the fatal incident, there were documented verbal confrontations between the two. These confrontations involved accusations, demands, and threats, some of which were communicated directly and others through social media. The pattern of behavior indicated escalating tension rather than de-escalation over time. Jonathan Tremaine Robinson was 36 years old at the time of the incident. He resided in Louisiana and had a documented criminal history prior to April 2018. His background included prior felony convictions, which legally prohibited him from possessing firearms. Robinson's criminal record involved violent offenses and previous interactions with law enforcement. These prior incidents established a history of aggressive behavior and noncompliance with legal restrictions. Despite these prohibitions, Robinson had access to a firearm at the time of the crime. Investigators later described Robinson's mental state as deliberate and intentional. Statements attributed to him suggested premeditation rather than impulsive action. He reportedly indicated that he had resolved to confront Williams on the day of the incident. Before and after the crime, Robinson made statements that reflected awareness of his actions and their consequences. These statements were later introduced during court proceedings and played a role in establishing intent. Robinson also had relationship dynamics involving multiple individuals, including current and former partners. These relationships were marked by jealousy, competition, and conflict. His interaction suggested difficulty managing rejection and an inclination to respond to perceived disrespect with aggression. In the days leading up to April 12, 2018, online disputes involving Williams intensified. Social media exchanges included arguments connected to romantic relationships and personal accusations. These disputes were visible to the public and attracted attention from viewers who followed Williams' live streams. Arguments escalated through comments and posts, with tensions increasing rather than diminishing. Robinson remained aware of these online interactions and responded to them. The digital nature of the conflict allowed it to persist continuously, without physical proximity. On the day of the incident, Robinson took deliberate actions that culminated in the fatal encounter. Earlier that day, he armed himself with a firearm despite being legally prohibited from doing so. He then made the decision to travel to Williams' residence in Shreveport. Robinson arrived at the residence without invitation. There was no record of law enforcement intervention prior to his arrival. Despite the ongoing disputes and history of conflict, no restraining order or active police monitoring was in place at that time. The absence of intervention allowed the confrontation to occur without interruption. Robinson entered the residence, initiating a direct confrontation that would soon escalate into violence. The combination of unresolved relationship conflict, public online disputes, access to a firearm, and lack of preventive measures created the conditions that led to the events of April 12, 2018. On April 12, 2018, Jonathan Tremaine Robinson arrived at the residence of Ranita Nunu Williams in Shreveport, Louisiana. The home was located on Natalie Street, a residential area with neighboring houses in close proximity. Robinson was not invited. He entered the home armed with a rifle, immediately altering the balance of control inside the residence. Upon entry, Robinson encountered Williams inside the home. The initial confrontation was verbal. Robinson positioned himself in a manner that limited Williams' movement, using his physical presence and a visible firearm to assert authority over the space. The rifle was not concealed. Its presence was deliberate and served as a constant visual indicator of threat. Robinson moved through the residence while maintaining possession of the firearm. His actions indicated an effort to dominate the environment, ensuring that Williams remained compliant and that no immediate escape was possible. There were no signs of forced offensive resistance from Williams during this initial stage. The control of the environment remained entirely with Robinson. Shortly after the confrontation began, Williams was compelled to activate Facebook Live on her mobile phone. Whether the broadcast was initiated voluntarily or under direct coercion is clarified by Robinson's continued verbal direction and oversight during the stream. Robinson stood within camera range at various points, monitoring what was said and how Williams presented herself. During the broadcast, Robinson demanded that Williams issue a public apology. The apology was directed toward individuals involved in prior online disputes, including Robinson's current romantic partner. Robinson dictated the content of the apology, interrupting when he felt the wording was insufficient or unsatisfactory. Throughout the live stream, Robinson used threatening language. His statements referenced consequences for noncompliance and included remarks suggesting the broadcast itself was part of his intent. He remained armed throughout the recording, frequently shifting position within the frame while maintaining visibility of the weapon. Viewers watching the live stream in real time began reacting through comments. Some expressed confusion, while others warned Williams to seek help or leave the situation. Several viewers attempted to contact emergency services independently after recognizing the seriousness of the threat unfolding live. As the broadcast continued, the tone shifted. Robinson's patience diminished. His voice became more directive and confrontational. Williams' responses became shorter and more controlled. The dynamic transition from coerced compliance to an increasingly volatile standoff, still unfolding on camera. The sequence leading to the shooting occurred without interruption to the live stream. Robinson continued speaking as Williams remained in frame. Without warning, gunfire erupted. The exact number of shots fired during the initial discharge was later determined through ballistic analysis. Audio evidence captured the sound of multiple gunshots. Williams' voice was briefly heard after the first shots, indicating an attempt to respond or plead. These were the final audible responses attributed to her. Following the gunfire, the phone recording the live stream was displaced. The camera view shifted abruptly, landing at an angle that no longer showed Williams or Robinson clearly. The audio continued momentarily, capturing additional movement and speech before the live stream ended. The shooting occurred entirely inside the residence. There was no interruption from outside parties during this phase. As the live stream circulated, emergency calls began reaching local dispatch. Some calls were placed by neighbors who reported hearing gunshots. Others came from individuals who had witnessed the incident live online and provided the address shown or discussed during the broadcast. Shreveport Police Department units were dispatched to the scene within minutes. Upon arrival, officers observed signs consistent with an active shooter scenario. Gunshots were reported from inside the residence, and Robinson remained armed inside the home. Law enforcement identified the situation as high risk. Officers established an immediate perimeter around the residence, securing surrounding homes and restricting access to the area. Medical personnel were staged at a safe distance due to the ongoing threat. Robinson barricaded himself inside the residence following the shooting. He remained armed and refused to exit when officers issued commands. The standoff continued as police attempted to assess Williams' condition and neutralize the threat. During the standoff, Robinson fired shots at responding officers from inside the residence. Officers returned fire. One police officer sustained a gunshot wound during the exchange. The officer was removed from the scene and transported for medical treatment. The standoff lasted approximately 80 minutes. During this time, law enforcement employed negotiation tactics, attempting to communicate with Robinson and encourage surrender. Robinson remained inside, continuing to move within the residence. Eventually, Robinson exited the residence and surrendered to police without further gunfire. He was taken into custody at the scene. Once the scene was secured, investigators entered the residence. Ranita Williams was located inside and pronounced deceased. The cause of death was determined to be multiple gunshot wounds. Crime scene technicians conducted a detailed examination of the interior. Ballistic evidence was collected, including shell casings and projectile fragments. The firearm used in the shooting was recovered from the residence. Williams' mobile phone was secured as evidence. Investigators preserved the Facebook Live footage as part of the digital evidence record. Copies of the live stream were obtained from online sources and platform records to ensure completeness. Interviews were conducted with neighbors who reported hearing gunshots or observing police activity. Statements were also collected from individuals who had viewed the live stream and contacted authorities. These accounts were used to reconstruct the timeline of events leading up to and following the shooting. The residence remained sealed until investigators completed evidence collection and documentation. The case was then transferred to prosecutors for formal charging and court proceedings.
She's here through her children, and that's what's most important.
Hundreds gathered today to celebrate the life and spirit of Ranita Williams after she was gunned down in the Caddo Heights neighborhood over a week ago and killed on Facebook Live. Family and friends of Ranita, also known as Nunu, describe her as a vibrant woman who was unconditionally loving. As KSLA News 12's Christian Picos reports, Ranita's spirit is being carried on by those she touched.
In a sea of pink and white, family and friends of Ranita Williams unite to commemorate her life. Those bright and lively colors, a perfect representation of how Ranita lived her life to the fullest. Ranita's cousin, DeKeon Gillard.
She was really just a sweet person. Like, she didn't have to know you for her to mess with you, as long as you was, sweet.
Gillard says Ranita brought a sense of peace to his life, and not without plenty of good times.
She just was the type of person that, you can be around without no worries. We used to have a lot of parties, we used to always turn up together.
The sheer size of the crowd, further proving just how many lives Ranita touched.
I just let you know that she had a lot of love out here. She never had no problems with nobody.
Williams' lively spirit lives on in those she leaves behind.
Nunu was a good going girl. She was a good mother to a lot of people. She was just an outstanding girl. She was out doing her own thing.
Kevin Taylor is another one of Ranita's cousins.
She left her kids alone. She left her mom, her brothers, and lots of cousins and friends.
Ranita's life cut tragically short, but her warm and loving legacy is everlasting. In Shreveport, Christian Picos, KSLA News 12.
A GoFundMe account has been created for Ranita's mother, Anita. The account was verified by the Shreveport Police Department and can be found on your KSLA News 12 mobile app. Jonathan Robinson, the man accused of killing her and injuring a police officer, is in the Caddo Correctional Center with a $2.5 million.
After the shooting of Ranita Nunu Williams, law enforcement moved quickly to secure the scene and identify the suspect. Officers arrived at the residence after multiple calls from neighbors and viewers who had watched the live stream. When police approached the home, they encountered Jonathan Tremaine Robinson, who was still armed and remained inside the residence. Robinson did not surrender immediately. Instead, he engaged in an extended standoff with officers. The standoff involved repeated gunfire directed at law enforcement personnel, resulting in injuries to at least one officer. After a prolonged confrontation, Robinson was eventually taken into custody. His formal arrest was executed following the conclusion of the standoff, and he was transported to the Caddo Parish Jail for booking and processing. Once Robinson was in custody, prosecutors began preparing formal charges based on the evidence collected from the scene and the recorded live stream. The initial charges included first-degree murder for the death of Ranita Williams. This charge reflected the premeditated nature of the act, as investigators concluded Robinson had arrived at the residence with a firearm and intent to commit violence. In addition to the murder charge, prosecutors included charges for aggravated assault and illegal possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. These additional charges were based on Robinson's prior criminal record and the fact that he was prohibited from legally possessing a weapon. The charges also reflected the aggressive and violent nature of the confrontation. Following the arrest, prosecutors expanded the charges to include crimes related to the shooting of law enforcement officers. During the standoff, Robinson fired multiple shots at responding officers, striking at least one and creating a dangerous situation for law enforcement personnel. As a result, the prosecution added attempted first-degree murder charges related to the officers involved. The expanded charges were intended to account for the broader scope of violence and the direct threat posed to public safety during the incident. The legal classification of the homicide was treated as a first-degree murder case due to the combination of premeditation, the use of a firearm, and the presence of a prior violent history. In the courtroom, the case progressed through arraignment and plea hearings. At the initial arraignment, Robinson was formally advised of the charges against him and entered a plea. His initial plea was not guilty, a common procedural response in cases where the defense is evaluating evidence and considering strategy. During the early stages of court proceedings, prosecutors presented evidence to establish probable cause and build a case for trial. The evidence included the live stream footage, eyewitness statements, ballistics reports, and the testimony of responding officers. The live stream footage was particularly significant because it captured the entire confrontation in real time, providing a clear record of Robinson's actions, his statements, and the timeline of the event. Prosecutors used the video to establish intent, sequence, and the presence of a firearm during the crime. The defense strategy initially focused on challenging the prosecution's interpretation of the evidence. Defense attorneys questioned the reliability of witness statements and sought to limit the impact of the live stream footage by arguing about context and interpretation. The defense also raised issues related to Robinson's state of mind, including claims of stress, mental instability, or coercive circumstances. Defense attorneys explored options for reducing the severity of charges or negotiating a plea agreement. During the court proceedings, defense statements were largely procedural, and the defense maintained a position that allowed for further negotiation with prosecutors. As the case advanced, the defense made changes in plea status. The turning point came when Robinson entered a guilty plea for the charges brought against him. The guilty plea represented a shift in strategy and a recognition that the evidence against him was substantial. The plea also allowed prosecutors to avoid a lengthy trial and secure a final judgment through sentencing. Robinson's guilty plea covered the murder charge and the related offenses, including the assault and firearm charges. Following the guilty plea, the court moved to sentencing. Robinson received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder conviction. The sentence reflected the severity of the crime, the premeditated nature of the act, and the fact that the victim was killed inside her own home. In addition to the life sentence, Robinson received additional consecutive sentences for the other charges, including attempted murder of law enforcement officers and illegal firearm possession. The consecutive sentences ensured that Robinson would remain incarcerated for the remainder of his life, even if other parts of the sentence were modified or appealed. Courtroom statements during sentencing included formal remarks from the prosecution and defense. Prosecutors emphasized the seriousness of the crime and the evidence of premeditation. The defense acknowledged the plea agreement and focused on procedural aspects, including legal standards for sentencing and the formal acceptance of the guilty plea. The judge reviewed the evidence and imposed a sentence in accordance with Louisiana law and sentencing guidelines. The aftermath of the case extended beyond the courtroom and affected multiple areas of public interest. The impact on Williams' children and family was immediate and long-term. The family had to address the loss of mother and caregiver, manage the legal process, and navigate the public attention surrounding the case. The children's daily lives were affected by the absence of their mother, and the family was forced to make adjustments in living arrangements, finances, and emotional support structures. The family also faced ongoing attention from media and the community. In Shreveport, the community response included increased awareness of domestic violence and the risks associated with abusive relationships. Local residents and community leaders discussed the circumstances of the case and emphasized the importance of recognizing warning signs before conflict escalates into violence. The case also sparked discussions about the role of social media in amplifying private conflict and turning it into public spectacle. The live stream video became a central topic in community discussions because it provided a real-time record of the event and raised questions about digital ethics and public exposure. Following the incident, the live stream video was removed from social media platforms and reviewed by law enforcement for evidence. The removal process was part of a broader effort to prevent further dissemination of graphic content and to protect the privacy of the victim's family. Law enforcement officials retained copies of the video as evidence for trial and used the footage to establish the timeline and confirm details of the crime. The video also became a key element in national discussions about content moderation and platform responsibility. Public reaction nationwide included debates over domestic violence, the impact of social media, and the need for legal reforms. Media coverage highlighted the unusual nature of the crime being broadcast live and the ethical implications of viewers watching a violent act in real time. Discussions also addressed the responsibility of social media companies to monitor and remove harmful content and the challenges of responding to active crimes that unfold online. The broader implications of the case focus on domestic violence warning signs, the role of social media as an unfiltered crime witness, and the challenges faced by law enforcement in live broadcast incidents. Domestic violence experts pointed to patterns of control, threats, and escalation that often precede fatal outcomes. The case also highlighted how digital platforms can inadvertently facilitate violence by allowing perpetrators to document and broadcast their actions. Law enforcement agencies face new challenges in responding to crimes that are witnessed live by online audiences, including the need to coordinate emergency response with real-time digital evidence. The case concluded with a clear legal outcome. Robinson was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole, with additional consecutive sentences for related charges. The lasting impact of the case remains in the legal and social conversations it generated. The case remains significant in true crime history due to its combination of domestic violence, real-time social media broadcasting, and the direct involvement of law enforcement during the standoff. The incident highlighted the evolving nature of crime in the digital age and the need for updated policies, public awareness, and preventative measures. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.